Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? My name is Attorney Charles Zavala, your immigration lawyer. We are located here in Houston, Texas, and our office is called Zavala Texas Law. We can help you with immigration matters no matter where you are, whether you're in Texas, in any other state, or even outside of the country, as long as it has to do with U.S. immigration law. So if you like our videos, we usually do videos talking about immigration, criminal defense, some business stuff. Like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff, because what we try to do is we try to tell you the news or tell you about things that are related to these legal topics in a way that's easily digestible. So if you like our videos, please feel free to follow. And if you ever want to talk to me, you can always schedule an appointment with me. Phone number is right there. All appointments are going to be with me via the phone, so we can help you there. So today's video is going to be regarding a visa or a type of status that we love to do in our office. And it's called a TN visa. T like Tom, N like Nancy. So this is a work visa. We run through a lot of these in our office. We have an extremely high approval rate, and it's a great visa if you qualify. So if you watch this video, I'm gonna explain what it is, how you can apply, who's eligible, and what kind of the ups and downs are. So like I said, let's start from the beginning. It's called a TN visa. T like Tom, N like Nancy. So this was a visa that was created under NAFTA, which I think at the time was called a North America Free Trade Agreement. It was part of a deal that the USA made with Canada and Mexico, because they're our neighbors, right? Our neighbors to the north and our neighbors to the south. So just to start it off, this visa, the TN visa, is only for people who are citizens of Canada and Mexico. If you are a resident in those places, I'm sorry. If you're from another country, I'm sorry. You can have dual citizenship, so let's pretend you are a citizen of, I don't know, Fiji, right? But you're also a citizen of Canada. You qualify. Let's pretend you're a citizen of Italy, but you're also a citizen of Mexico. You qualify. So the first requirement is you have to be a citizen from Canada or Mexico. So, I guess I got a little ahead of myself. So like I told you, this used to be called the NAFTA, North America Free Trade Agreement, or Free Trade Alliance. No, it's Free Trade Agreement. So now it's changed. They changed the name in 2020 to the USCMA, which stands for United States, Canada, Mexico Agreement. It's really kind of the same thing, but they just changed the name. So the TN visa is a work visa. Remember, number one, you have to be from either Canada or Mexico. But number two is, this isn't a work visa that's just available for everybody who wants, if you're from one of those countries. No. Unfortunately, when they created this law, or when they created this statute, it was to kind of promote our neighborhood kind of work alliance, right? So it's saying, look, if you're from Canada, if you're from Mexico, we will allow you to come work here in the USA as long as you get this visa, because we're trying to promote, business opportunity between our neighbors. However, not every single job qualifies, and that's very important, because if you look up what the TN visa jobs are, you will see that they list out what the exact jobs are. And it's not that you have to do this job. These are usually the requirements needed, as in you have to have a degree in this, or you have to have experience in this. So I'm just going to read to you a few of what the professions are. This is not all the list. In fact, in the description, I'm going to put a list to what the jobs are. But here, let me just give you an example. So these are just an example I'm reading. Accountants, engineers, lawyers, computer system analysts, scientific teachers, some medical professionals. There is a long list. Architects, I'm trying to think. The majority of the ones we do are engineers. We do a lot of architects. We do a lot of accountants. What else? No, nurses are not part of this. Well, I guess they have to have that clicks. I guess there's a list, right? So that is going to be requirement number 2. You have to have that career. So for example, let's pretend, this example I've been using, my little daughter's giraffe. My little daughter's giraffe is from Mexico. She is an engineer in Mexico. Let's pretend, I think last week we just did a mechanical engineer. No, he was an industrial engineer. He was an industrial engineer, and he got a job offer to come work in the United States at some plant where they create equipment, right? It's exactly what they do. So little giraffe has to show that they have a degree in engineering that's related to the field they're going to do, right? So for example, if you have a major in let's say history, right? That's what I graduated with in college. That is not one of the jobs on the TN visa job list. Therefore, I couldn't apply for a job with my history degree, right? So it's very important that when you look at this list, you find where your career is or what you graduated in from the university, and make sure you have those requirements, because most of them are going to require that you have a bachelor's in that field, or there are some instances where you don't need to have a degree, but you have to have X amount of years of experience in that, right? One of those is called management consultant, and that's a tricky video. I'll make a video about that later, but that's another one of the requirements, right? Your profession or what you're doing has to be on that list, so check that out. The third thing is you need a company here in the USA who is sponsoring you, right? So let's pretend, back to the Mr. Giraffe. Let's pretend there's a company here in the USA who wants to hire him. So what they'll do is you need an offer letter, right? Saying, hey, Mr. Giraffe, we want to hire you. This is the position. These are your responsibilities. This is how much we're going to pay you. This is how long to work. Just like you would in any other job. You have to have an agreement. You have to have a contract. What are your duties and responsibilities, right? Because those are going to be part of the requirements. So let's go back. First, you have to be a citizen of those two countries. Two, your job needs to be, or profession needs to be on that list. And third, you need to have a job offer, right? Those are the three main things that you're going to need to do. However, what we like to do in our office, we like to submit other evidence as well, showing, your resume that you've been working in this. We also like to get letters sometimes from friends and family or past colleagues who can say that you have worked with. And then once we submit this, there's two ways that you can do this. You could either submit the paperwork at your consulate. So let's pretend you are from Mexico. You then would have to schedule an appointment at the Mexican consulate or the US consulate in Mexico for your TN visa. You will show up, it'll be an interview, you will sit there with an officer, and they will essentially go through the paperwork that was submitted as well as the supporting documents you take, and they're going to make sure you qualify. And what does that mean? They're going to look at where you're from, they're going to look at your career, they're going to look at the job offer letter, but they're also going to do a little bit of research about the company. We have had a few companies, or a few times where a consular officer calls us and says, hey, you know what, I want more information about the company because I'm really not pulling up too much information about them, and I want to make sure it's a legit company. And that's okay, right? Because part of the reasons why they create these visas is they want to make sure that this is a legit company and not fraud, because there's a lot of fraud that goes on. So that's very important. So one of the perks of this TN visa, if you are from Canada, it's actually a little different process than if you are from Mexico. You do not have to schedule an appointment at the consulate. If you are from Canada, you can literally just walk up to a port of entry on the northern border and apply for it right then and there. You don't need to schedule an appointment. You don't need to do all the stuff that's required from Mexico. Why is it that way? I don't know. It's a little bit, I don't want to say favoritism, but it's a lot easier for a Canadian person to apply. Well, not easier, but it requires less effort, so to say. So then you're going to go to the appointment. If all goes well, they will approve you, and what they'll do is they'll take your passport, and they will keep your passport, right, for about a week, because what they need to do is they need to put a visa in there, that TN visa. And this is a common misconception a lot of people have. People think, oh, I got my visa. A visa is a piece of paper that they stamp into your passport. So if you've ever had a visa to come to the USA, go through your passport and you'll see there's kind of a little piece of paper about that size with your picture on it. They stamp it in there and it says your name, date of birth, what type of visa you're on, and for how long it's valid. And that is what's called a visa, right? So with the TN visas, they can give them up to 3 years. I think we've had some that they've given even up to 4 years, which is fantastic because that means you do not have to renew, right? And that's great because once you don't have to renew it, you have it for 3 or 4 years, and then when you're getting close to expiring, then you renew it. So it's not something that you have to renew every single year where they just take your money every year. So that's a very important thing, and that's something we tell our clients a lot. We go, look, the reason why we put so much effort into it from the beginning is because we want to make a good packet to make sure that you get approved, and then you don't have to worry about this for 3 or 4 years, right? And then we just renew it when we get there. So that is very important about the TN visa. One thing that's interesting about the TN visa is your family. So let's pretend Mr. Giraffe has a wife and kid. They are also allowed to come into the US. However, they don't come on what's called a TN visa. They come what's called a TD visa, kind of like touchdown visa, TD. And with that, they are allowed to come into the USA. You do have to apply for that visa. It's not like just because Mr. Giraffe applied for it, they automatically get it. It's a separate process, but don't worry about it. That's easy stuff. We handle it all the time. Once your family is able to come in, and that's going to be your spouse and children under 21, they are not allowed to work in the USA, okay? However, they are allowed to go to school, which could be great, you know? I'm from a border town myself with Mexico, so we had a lot of people who would come from Mexico to come work in the United States, and their family would also come with them, and they would go to school, right? I had a lot of people that I went to high school that parents were working here in the USA and they were here on some sort of visa. So that's very important to know. So you cannot work. That being said, let's pretend Mr. Giraffe applies for a TN visa and gets approved and his wife and kid come. If his wife is also eligible for a TN visa through some other work, she could then apply for a TN visa, which is great because now she is allowed to work and there's no problems when it comes to that, okay? So that's one way of applying for the TN visa if you are outside the country. The second way to apply for a TN visa is, let's pretend Mr. Giraffe is already inside the USA. You know, for a legal way, right? He's not here undocumented. Let's say he came in with his tourist visa to come look at some job opportunities or something along those lines, right? And let's say while he's here, he gets offered a job and they say, look, we want you to start as soon as possible. Well, normally, you know, he would go back to the consulate and he would schedule an appointment, and that could really depend on how fast we can get him an appointment. Sometimes, you know, we've gotten appointments within a month. Sometimes it may take 3, sometimes 4 months, and that's not our fault. That's not your fault. It really has to do with the consulates because, let's see here, what are we now in 2020, end of 2024? It used to be that there's a lot of consulates, US consulates sprinkled in Mexico, and they used to handle the TN visa. So you could kind of choose which consulate you would like to go to depending on what was closer to home, what were you able to get an appointment easier, blah, blah, blah. But approximately, 3 years ago, they reduced the amount of consulates that are handling TN visas. So that still means there's different consulates, but the ones that are handling TN visas are reduced. So I think it's down to 3 or 4. About 3 or 4. So what happens is, if there's a lot of people who are renewing or if a lot of people who are applying, it kind of gets backed up, and that's kind of the reason why sometimes it can take a little bit longer. So I always tell my clients, look, how important is it for you to start working? Is this something that you need to hit the ground running? Because if that's the case and you are inside the USA, we can go ahead and change your status, right, to TN. That doesn't mean you get the visa. We still have to do that later, but we could go ahead and change your status so you can go ahead and start working ASAP. ASAP as soon as your application gets approved, right? And if you apply within the USA, it's a different process, a different form, a different filing fee, a different government agency. Either way, don't worry about that. We handle it all the time. One of the downfalls is if you apply from within the United States is it takes longer. So right now, the form you're going to apply on is called an I-129. That can take between 4, 6, maybe even 8 months. But a lot of people say, look, I'm not going to wait that long. I'd rather just go do it in Mexico. Yeah, I hear you. But there's another option. If you're in the USA, you could do what's called premium processing, which ultimately means you pay the government more money and they will process your TN status within, they say 14 days. In my experience, let's just say it's a month, right? Because they say they'll handle it 14 days, but by the time they receive it, by the time the officer gets it, let's just say a month. But that's great, because that's a lot faster than having to wait, 5, 6, 8 months. The only downfall is the government's going to charge you more money. As of now, they are charging $2,805 extra. So let's just round it up. Let's say about $3,000 extra. That's a lot of money. I don't care who you are. That's a lot of money. But you have to balance it, right? You have to say, okay, well, do I wait 4, 5, 6 months until my visa is approved, which could be a lot of money? Or do I just go ahead and pay this $3,000 now on top of the other filing fee, get approved within a month, and I can start working? So that's kind of a cost benefit analysis. But yeah, I mean, those are the perks about the TN visa. Here in our office, we handle a lot of TN visas. It's something that I got onto kind of early in my career. And we love them. You know, we process a lot of them. We have a great format on doing them. I think our office approval rate is 98%, which is fantastic. You know, this year in 2024, we had 100% approval rate when it comes to our TN visas. So we definitely know what we're doing. We can definitely walk you through everything, and we handle the entire process for you. All you got to do is just give us the documents we need, give us the information, answer our phone calls, answer our email, and we assure that we can get you in the right path on getting a TN visa. Okay, so total breakdown, what I would say about a TN visa. 1, you have to be from Canada or Mexico, non-negotiable. 2, you have to have one of the careers or education that's listed on the TN visa or TN jobs, right? So if it doesn't fit one of those, I'm sorry, the TN visa isn't going to be for you. There is a category called management consultant, but we'll talk about that in another video if you guys are interested. 3, you need to have that job offer. You have to have that contract. You have to have things along those lines. And how that contract is written is very important, right? Normally what we do in our office is we speak with the employer and we say, look, send us a rough draft. We'd love to see what the rough contract is. And then we change it up so that it fits what it needs to for the law to fit under the TN visa, because that is very important. We have had a lot of clients who come and they say, oh, you know what, this is my third time applying for a TN visa. Then we take care of it, we do what we need to do, and they get approved on the first bat. I'm not saying it's going to work like that all the time, but it's very important to know the law and how it affects and what they're going to be looking for. Okay, so those are the main criteria about the TN visa, guys. Like I said, we handle a lot of them. I'm more than happy to help anybody that needs this stuff. Our phone number is right here on the screen. Every single phone call or phone consultation that's going to be done is going to be with me personally via the phone. There are some people out there who are trying to pretend to be our office, but ladies and gentlemen, it's always going to be me, Charles Zavala. If the appointment is not with Charles Zavala, then I'm sorry, it's not us, okay? But either way, if you guys have any questions regarding anything immigration, TN visa, work visas, green cards, we are here to help you. We're located in Houston, Texas, but that doesn't mean you have to be located in Houston, Texas. We got 4.9 out of 5 stars on Google, over 160 reviews, so feel free to check us out. We're more than happy to help you. I hope you'll have a beautiful day. I hope 2025 is a very great year for y'all, for family, life, business, all that good stuff, and we're here to help in any way we can. Thank you. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Thanks.